Al pie del Ávila majestuoso, a 920 metros sobre el nivel del mar, en un valle de verde geografía que se abre de este a oeste, surge Caracas, la capital de Venezuela.
And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Hello, what's up, everybody? My name is Rafael Chacinas, no es el Capitán Rafucho, and welcome to another episode of the Combat Club. Because right now, it is the perfect opportunity to celebrate Easter and, of course, the spring break. Because right now, me and, of course, my co-host Zion, we're delivering the preview of the previews. The UFC 314 is going to be at the city of Miami. Because right now, the Combat Club is going to be an extraordinary, extreme attitude. Because in this club, we're born to fight anywhere, anytime, anyone. So don't be a ninja and fight like a real man. So right now, let's just talk about the UFC 314. Because it's going to be hell of the banger. Because it's all about experience and youth. So right now, let's give it a look at a warm welcome to my co-host, which is Zion, and he's ready to the UFC 314 in Miami. So let's get it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's get it. We got a banger record. Just wanted to say, hopefully everybody's doing great. I know it's been a while since you've seen us on the Combat Club. Slowly, I am starting to return to YouTube. Starting with the Combat Club, so I appreciate you guys for being with us today to break down an amazing night of fights that is going to be taking place in Miami at, obviously the Kaseya Center, home to the Miami Heat, my favorite basketball team. So that being said, should be a great night of fights in Miami. So can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we got some comments right now. There it is, right, Ryan. Salute to you. Also, Robert Pena's in the building. Tony Shepard is in the building.
Let's go.
Right now, let's talk about the main card of UFC 314. First and foremost, here it is. Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. Now, for the Ukraine, Krylov seems like came out of the nowhere, but I just saw that fight happen. I thought the contract got canceled or something because there was it's been in the last couple of years. But Krylov has one clear advantage of that fight, or at least at the pad, at the victory that was made too, because to be victorious, and there's going to be taken to the ground and find those submissions. And we all know, all of those fans, because the striking is relatively good and highly accurate. But even go for toe against someone like Reyes, someone had to find the stride once again. I mean, it's like a dangerous task. I mean, especially 2 years in activity. Now, since Krylov main pay went to winning this fight to take it to the ground, I feel like this is going to have the really midst of striking and at least make Reyes. Feels like it's going to be most stand about. But Reyes is someone that should be not underestimated as an underdog. And I mean, what I just saw between for the odds, you have to check it off again. I mean, there is no way that a former challenger who gave John Jones his late prime and lost more side with his battle. Now, Reyes has a fantastic boxing. Very accurate, well listened to himself at the issues with the chin high, but of course, as well as the uppercuts to be cooked and of course loaded. But I just say between for the uppercut, there's nothing wrong about it. Now, the confidence most of the teams that had to defend takedowns. I mean, if you could give it a John Jones in most trouble, but without to say, the simplicity of the fight is very simple. I mean, Nikita Krylov doesn't have a punch a chance to show his best chance to use his grappling than judo to get on the ground. Otherwise, Reyes is going to feel more comfortable on that feet. I mean, it's going to be an interesting battle between grappler versus striker. There was a lot of high stakes and one of the hell of a great matchup. So I would do between this I would give it like Dominic Reyes as a knockout for the round number three, because I know that Dominic Reyes is undeniable with the strike rate, and there is only way that the duck in the head, because it's someone that he has been a little bit more to choose battle. And you gotta leave it to the power and the speed of undeniable.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the fight really comes down to this: can Dominic Reyes stuff Nikita's takedowns if he does go to a takedown? Because I think you are absolutely right. I think Dominic Reyes is better on the stand up. Definitely has fought in the better level of competition. Definitely can hit you with a spinning elbow or something that you don't see. Definitely he's going to be faster. Definitely he's going to be lighter on his feet than Nikita Krylov. But the thing about Krylov is he has better ground game than Dominic Reyes. And can Dominic Reyes stuff the takedowns that is going to be coming? Now, it doesn't. It's not saying that Krylov can't strike with Dominic Reyes. So that's what I want to see. I want to see him mixing and striking. I want to see him mixing and striking, and then go for a takedown. Now, this is a guy that does have 12 KOs in his career. Most of them is coming pretty much outside of the organization, but he does got a lot of wins inside the organization of stoppage wins as well. He is on a 3 fight win streak. Those 3 fights are not even against the high level of competition, but veterans of the sport. Especially Alexander Gustafsson. He goes and he knocks Alexander out in round one. This is Krylov I'm talking about here. He goes and he beats Volkan, a unanimous decision at UFC 280, and then his last win is against Ryan Spann, a triangle choke. So he does show the ability to end the matches. But the thing is, the true question is where is Dominic Reyes at this time in his career? This is a guy that is on closer to 40 than 29, and at the end of well, sorry, closer to yeah. At the end of the day, it really comes down to is going to be Dominic Reyes as a 35-year-old that still has another push at the championship, taking out a Destin Jacoby, taking out a Anthony Smith in his last 2 fights in ground and pound fashion, and I believe that he catch the Kobe with a knee, I believe. Let me just double check on that. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
says right there on Topology, he ended it with a knee. So that being said, I mean, like he does have the ability to use knees, use elbows, and throw these awkward, strange, angle punches. But at the end of the day, he's going to be faster. But I like to see Krylov on his feet and see if he can hang and see if he can hit Dominic, because if he can mix in the striking to get Dominic to the ground, I think Krylov can win this fight. But if it stays standing the whole time, Dominic will piece him up. But I have to go grab something real fast. Hold it down for 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yep, exactly. So right now it's gonna grab this drink right now, but I really agree with Science in it, because in my opinion, because it's not much at a very typical, because I know that Crowley is running pathway. I mean, he can cut off a level chance. But I mean, how ineffective that Crowley striking defense is a chin hell high is very much easier to able to target. But I believe that most during Lagos moments that has changed, that Crowley will likely clinch up and try to track around the ground. But every fight standing stand, because I do think he has an uphill claim to achieve success. It is gonna be like a deal, like a whole, like a time punches for the very confident. So I guess it's gonna be something really interesting to see how the grappling, the strike could be there. Because, like I said, folks, I mean, it's gonna be like a tough battle between experience and youth, just like veterans versus rookies. So it's gonna be like a game changer. Now, next up, we got something on one of my favorites. This is gonna be like a show stealer. We got Jair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. Now, this is gonna be like really interesting one. I don't understand that Jair Rodriguez has been a house name for quite like known, because driven incredible effect striking, or not for those attacks. There's no doubt it's gonna be like a easy time against someone 5 inches pause shorter in length than Richard himself. It's just like a dream come true for the strikers. I mean, the only concern with Rodriguez is still like the grappling and submission offense on Pitbull, and not to be shabby enough, because we all know that Patricio Feiras knows Patricio Pitbull from Brazil, and he was well known at the Bellator world as a former champion, and he was getting at to debut at the city of Miami. because finally there's one of the 10 at the pocket. Because I wanted to waste the time to try to play on the field against Rodriguez, not at the age of 37. Now, Rodriguez is going to be like a like to keep people at a distance, using tips or maybe like a long body attacks, just like punches, ensuring that doesn't want to get penetrated in the pocket. But I really think that Pitbull, it's just like in a name that should enter like 5 years ago, which I don't think that could be a threat in some division. And I'm really high quotations that it's going to be both undersized compared to Jai, perhaps under the comfort terms of variation attack. And he could be like at a little bit of speed disadvantage. I really understand that Jair Rodriguez is very good at speed, but people, I mean, he knows for grappling, striking, and the wrestling. Because I really think it himself has really good submission defense and grappling. It is honestly like the less risky path for Pitbull. Now, probably it's going to be like a better surprise going up there. I mean, thinking the position is very different, so it's going to be like really protecting. He's going to making this debut for a no organization because we all know that he's from Bellator and he's been out fights a lot. But it's going to be like a big name, and I think it's going to be like an excellent fight. But doing for this one, I mean, I think that I have the opportunity to pick it up with Rodriguez as a knockout for round number 3. I mean, to hide the swordsman attacks. I mean, if he can win over Pitbull, I mean, that's really insane. Because I know that in somehow could be like in trouble and never succumb from like submission. But during for this one, I think they had to stand for a triple toe. I mean, if he can use like a knee itself in the middle of the attack, that's very effective. And I know that's gonna be like a really interesting to get a no against Patricio Freire as no as the Pitbull.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say real fast before we continue. Totally had it on private chat the whole time. What's up, Whiter? What's up, Robert, Tony, Daniel? Thank you so much for being us on a wonderful Friday afternoon as we
Mm-hmm.
talk about this amazing night of fights. That being said, though, yes, coming over from Bellator, which is now PFL, I guess. Pitbull was one of the best featherweights that the sport has ever seen. I get it. People may look at Bellator and be like, "That's a Class B organization." There was a time where Bellator was damn near kicking ass. I wouldn't say there was never had competition like the UFC, but it was damn near close. And that's when Pitbull was reigning. This guy has definitely been one of the best featherweights on the planet. Always been a top 10 featherweight, no matter what organization he was fighting for. But he has a tough fight against a young killer like Yo Rodriguez. But I honestly think that Pitbull will close the box, and if he doesn't get clipped, he will close the box. Obviously, Yo Rodriguez, I would say, has fought the better level of competition. But who's to say that Pitbull hasn't fought high level competition? One of the losses that sticks out to me, I mean, one of the wins that sticks out to me is the win that he got against AJ McKee after AJ
Mm-hmm.
McKee submitted him with that guillotine choke. He does have a KO victory against Michael Chandler in the first round. Another guy that's going to be fighting later on the card, another Bellator face, and he does have his last win is against Jeremy Kennedy. So I don't really know who Jeremy Kennedy is. I'm not going to act up here and sit up here and act like I watch Bellator. But what I will say is, if the young Pitbull comes in, if Pitbull is able to harness that young warrior spirit, I believe he has a chance to take out someone like your Rodriguez. But if he comes in looking like a 37-year-old, then obviously I'm gonna have to go with the younger fighter. I'm gonna have to go with the more experienced fighter in my mind. And the only reason why I get it, I just got done hyping up Rodriguez as Pitbull, sorry, as one of the best featherweights, but that was in the past. I want to see if he still has it, and this is a perfect fight to make. It's gonna, it can go to the ground, but it's mostly gonna stay up on the feet. And is Pitbull gonna be able to close the box on your year and get into his range to land those punches, or is your year gonna keep him back and work on his kickboxing? This is a fun matchup. The only reason why I am gonna be picking Pitbull here is I do believe that Yair has a chance to get it done, but I just see Pitbull coming in and landing my punches and actually frustrating Yair with his movement and getting it done by decision. So as good as a fighter Yair is, I just think that he hasn't been really able to beat the cream of the crop or the best of the best in the world in the featherweight division. And he just lost to Brian Ortega, who definitely got absolutely I wouldn't say demolished, but got worked on by Diego Lopez. So Ortega is damn near at the end of his career, and then Yair Rodriguez is losing to him by arm triangle choke. It doesn't really look good. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna put my money on Pitbull, and hopefully I don't I don't
Oh, that's
regret
gonna
doing
be
it.
like really tough.
Did we skip over the Bryce Mitchell fight by any chance? We did, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
we
let's go
did.
back to talk about the Gene Silva versus Bryce Mitchell, and I'll let you start.
Oh yes,
I
that's
think
gonna
this
be
is
really
going to be a
interesting.
fire matchup. I love this matchup. And if you don't
Oh
mind,
man,
too,
I love
after
that.
we talk about Gene Silva and Bryce Mitchell, before we go into the co-main event, can we cover the Sean Woodson and Dan Ige fight? I think that's going to be a banger as well. So,
Oh, that's gonna be like a
yeah,
really
I would
interesting.
wanna hear your honest thoughts on Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silva before I tell you mine. And I am just gonna mute my mic real fast because I'm gonna do some medication real fast. All right, but I'm still here.
Oh yes, I understand about that. But look, I mean, between Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva, I mean, this is gonna be like a hell of a fight. Because if you guys remember the adult anime series called South Park, and for those guys who didn't know about this, Bryce Mitchell, he's gonna be like Jesus, and John Silva's gonna be Satan. But it's gonna be like a hell of a fight, and I really know that this main card is gonna be like a hell of a banger. But Bryce
Man,
Mitchell is gonna be like a one hell of a trick pony. He's gonna be like a pull off of that trick that he looks absolutely incredible. That trick is gonna be something that he looks very absolutely incredible. His grappling is gonna be like a very trick at all. But I mean, he's very superb out on the ground. But I have no major doubt or a major point regarding that fight in Silva as mostly like a kickboxer who probably is going to be fall behind whenever it comes to grappling. But I do believe that Mitchell is going to be struggling a lot. There's two reasons why. First, the high advantage of Mitchell takes down for the options a bit more strict, like body lock takedowns or trips, and we can like dipping diaper for the legs, so they're very difficult to someone that's been quite educated and quick moving hips like Silva. Secondly, John Silva's really himself a solid takedown defense. Shown doing this fight against Dober. So he's really like good at keeping it. I do think that Mitchell has no other choice. But Silva has been a monster at UFC, and after his KO after Melsik Bashuran, which is not an easy test anyway, but I can see like a long way with the striking. I mean, obviously he has a major advantage on the feet, and Mitchell doesn't have any striking defense, to be honest, because other than taking in the fight, I mean, as long as they're taken for striking, Silva will be on the zone. But I don't think that Mitchell will be last too long on the feet, or will give it like his chin right over a badly for Ahmed. That was very quiet enough a while ago. So that was watching between that fight of Bryce Mitchell versus Josh Emmett. Now I just really understand that why Bryce Mitchell needs to take care about it. Because who's going to test that shin? I mean, John Silva could break that nose right now. I mean, Con Gracie, I mean, Silva's going to be like a real striking test for Mitchell since his MF fight. And I would think that it won't take too much to put Mitchell to sleep. I mean, no matter how it's going to describe Silva striking, but they're not able to do like it justice. So I got this one. And I really apologize to Wellston, New Jersey. I know that your pick is Bryce Mitchell, but I'm going to put John Silva a knockout just only for round number one. Because if he puts Bryce Mitchell to go to sleep and twitching again, that will be absolutely the cherry at the top. I'll be opening all those bottles of beer that are gonna be like an non-existence. But you know what? I mean, between for that fight of Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva, I mean, don't expect that John Silva could dominate it with a knockout or submission. I mean, as long as it's gonna do on the feet and on the distance, I mean, no matter how to describe this, I mean, he's gonna be like in a real fight.
yeah, no, most definitely. I'll let you say what's up to the chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate that, Ray. Appreciate that, Charm. Go right ahead. Say what's up to the chat, Raphael.
All right, salute to John City, salute to Ray Love, salute to everybody else. Yes, sir, indeed.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys so much for being here on a wonderful Friday afternoon, breaking down UFC 314. And I absolutely agree with you. I think Bryce Mitchell, I wouldn't go as far as say he's chinny because he did just beat his last opponent with a ground stoppage. But I would say that that knockout against dude, Josh, Josh Emmett a couple years back. I mean, like that was in
Yes.
2023, I believe, or 2022. But still, that shit was mean. And he did come off of another loss against Ilya, but those are two of the cream of the crop.
Oh,
Ilya
yeah.
being the featherweight, well, was the featherweight champion, moved up, but being the cream of the crop, Ilya Taporia. And then you got Josh Emmett, always going to be remaining in the top 10, no matter who he's fighting. He's always somehow in the top 10. So Josh Emmett's a dog. That being said, though, Gene Silva, I mean, like this guy is just absolutely on a tear. He's 4-0 since arriving in the UFC, and that's first stoppages. If I'm correct, he had the decision on the Contender Series. He went and he punched the fuck out of Wilson. He went and he uppercutted the fuck out of Charles. He went and he cut the fuck out of Drew, and then he fucking hit Maslock with a straight right. All right, so this guy's 4-0 with first stoppages. I agree with my man Raphael. I was gonna say round two, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Bryce is gonna get hit, and he's going to back up, and you're not going to want to throw. And it's funny too because Bryce was just undefeated. This guy was just undefeated going against another undefeated champion that against another undefeated fighter that became champion in Ilya. So I mean, like this guy was literally, I believe he was
Exactly.
just 15-0 at one time, like not too long ago. He was 14-0 in 2022. And it's 2025, and we're writing him off. And that's how fast the sport can change. Gene Silva, absolutely a dog. I believe he is literally. Let me just make sure my math is correct. Hasn't lost. Okay, guys, in 7 years, and hasn't lost in the UFC yet. So give me Gene Silva, and I'll put my money on that. Gene Silva locked of
Oh,
the week.
yes.
Before you move
Yes.
into the co-main event and the main event, I do want to talk about Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson. I pose this question to you. We just got done talking about veterans, talking about veterans of the sport with Dominic Reyes, veterans of the sport with Yair Rodriguez. Like you said at the beginning of the show, it really is veterans versus the new guard with Michael Chandler and Patty Piplin and Alexander and Diego. And this is another one with the veteran with Dan Ige, 18-9 overall, 10-8 in the UFC, versus up and comer in Sean Woodson that is absolutely on a tear, like Gene Silva, awkward as fuck, gonna come in,
Yeah.
gonna absolutely tear Ige apart. If I have to be honest with you, it's gonna be a long, hard decision victory. As much as I want to ride with my Hawaiian, as much as I want to go with Dan Ige, as much as he showed up on 4 hours' notice to fight Diego Lopez, as much as he's a dog, I just think that Sean Woodson's going to be too much for him. We're looking at a guy that's 32 that literally is ready to make the next level, take the next level in his UFC career. So my money on this one is give me the sniper, give me Sean Woodson, about to be 14-1-1, absolute dog. Can't wait to watch this fight. Gonna be a banger for the main event, for the prelims. And yeah, absolutely. I want to hear your opinion on it because Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson, man, this is such a great card.
Ooh, Tanige. I mean, this is gonna be like the hell of a fight. But I just wanted to tell you between for the like this fight. I mean, that was like there's something that you can never forget. I mean, the only fighter that it's not gonna be really strange, but they're very synonymous with the sport. Now, there's gonna be like a really different at all because it seems like they have it left at a good impression, but he seems like it's very difficult to like to stand out. And he's okay for striking, but the wrestling is very active. But I think it's gonna be like an uphill climb because I know that somehow they doesn't have a combat sports back on prime for the career. But then it's gonna be like a roller coaster. But I mean, he has a lot of the success in the two fights against, well, very decently. But he had us very solid, but he gets rough at the punches. He's got a pretty hard. But now there's gonna be like the last two wins. I mean, could be like a submission or a knockout, but I mean, it's going out for the clinch to get out of the fight to the ground. And it's gonna be like completely avoid thundery shots coming over this way. But when it comes to the breaking it down, that's ever to get finished or quickly finish the 2 rounds. So the only thing I could say that is very absurd is, but if you compare it like something like about food, I mean, if it's hard to believe that he knows how to grab a first stand. And furthermore, they gotta defend takedowns or at least wait to the later reverse position. Now, get up with the strike lane. Then he could have let his hands go and make it a chaotic fight. That will only if he landed, but he's gonna be like really trusting enough of the striker to pull it off of the feet. Yep, it's gonna be too much anything. Oh, I think it's gonna be it.
Yeah. About that time, bro. We got 2 fire main events, and I can't wait to talk about it, man. We have Michael Chandler versus Paddy Piplin, and before I begin, I really are curious on where you stand. And being I went first the last time, I'm gonna allow you to go first this time. So where do you stand, my friend? Michael Chandler, veteran of the sport, 23-9 overall, 2-4 in the UFC. Now let me be honest with you, Rafael. Before I let you go, 6 fights in the UFC, and goddamn, he's entertaining. So he made two. He may be 2-4, but if you're 2-4 and you're entertaining us, that's where UFC will keep you around and keep on
Mhm.
booking you. Keep on booking you. 2-4 absolutely against high level competition. Never fought someone outside of the top 10. And here he is fighting Paddy Piplin, giving the younger guy a chance out of the top 10 because now he is out of the top 10. So Michael Chandler's ranked 11, facing a Paddy Piplin, 22-3 overall, 6-0 in his UFC career. Representing new generation out of Liverpool, who do you got in this one? Paddy Piplin, Michael Chandler.
Oh, that will be something interesting because for me, for that fight, the Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblet, I mean, this is gonna be off the hook, and UFC 314 is gonna be so incredible. But I gotta tell you for this one, Michael Chandler has really impressed recently, and he survived against Oliveira over those 5 rounds in insanity, all through
Oh
about
yeah.
40 or sort of legal shots to the back of his head. Maybe I look at the fan grabs it all up at a gentle lever, the stop, but he certainly who's still at the athletic prime. He can go for like insane pace for 5 rounds. And what I just watched that replay of Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. I mean, that Michael Chandler, he just boom, body slam, not one, not two, 3 times against Charles Oliveira, and still one of my favorite moments. I mean, his cardio is very incredible and he looks very check. But he can be really insane as long because he doesn't overdo it because he can really not be very sloppy. But my only concern to Michael Chandler is falling into like the wrestling trap that Pimble is very good at countering against. And that's like the jump into the wars. But I mean, his defense is against it, a takedown is typically like a guillotine or something like a neck attack. It's like the great intimidator, the really hall liner and sort of fight. But there's like a possibility to find the opening about like Chandler's potentially maybe take down in terms of power, physicality. I'll give Chandler about for the nut because it's gonna be hard to trust Chandler when it goes to like the fight. So very underwhelming. But his opponents typically like very great. I mean, the only chance to win this fight is Hogan to find the chin of Pimlet and putting it away, just like it clenching it out and boom, it goes for a knockout. Might be forced to do wrestling. That's perhaps the Pimlet will put on the head to find that submission. But Patty, I mean, it's something that, despite for all the success of UFC, because I know he's from England, because all the hype for the casual crowd, we cannot buy for this one. I mean, everyone on the record has come out like a little bit of asterisk. Is all the station over Jerry Gordon that a submission win against King Green, in which that fell after the takedown was just like really sloppy, perhaps a little bit chaotic and messy, but I'm very sure that he's got the knowledge, should have got for the boy, to the level of his staff sort of painlet, but he's still going to want to confident submissions where they get available. So he's going to want to fight the most engaged with the ground that he can use like a submission and find the choke. But I would say for that fight, I mean, it's going to be like a hell of a fight. It's going to be very interesting because I understand that Penny Pimblade could be like something like a trash talker, but my opportunity to take on it is going to be Michael Chandler. It's going to be on submission. Round number 2. Michael Chandler wins first submission on round number 2 because I know he has a great experience in wrestling. But of course, he's one of the most electrifying, the most entertaining fighters in UFC. So I know there's gonna be like something that no one can take a lot of this one.
Wait, so you're saying that Michael Chandler is going to submit Patty, or Patty's going to submit Michael?
No, Michael is gonna submit Patty at the round number 2. That's
Wow.
what I just said. Chandler.
Wow.
Michael Chandler is submission.
Wow. That is bold, my friend. That is really bold. I'm just gonna take some time to talk about both guys' career. I mean, like Michael Chandler, absolutely dog, comes into the UFC after a great, a great one in Bellator. Did his thing in Bellator, was well respected in Bellator. If it wasn't really for Pitbull, I think he was damn near close to one of the stories, if one of the biggest stories, if not for Pitbull. Obviously, there's AJ McKee and a bunch of other people, but he was definitely up there. Brian Bader, but he was definitely and Fedor, but he was definitely up there as one of the top stories. Comes over to the UFC, goes and has that amazing debut again against Dan Hooker, loses that championship fight against Charles Oliveira, loses that decision against Justin Gaethje, gets that nice front kick against Tony Ferguson, gets submitted by Destin. We all remember that chokehold, and then has a great performance against Charles Oliveira. When you look at who he fought in the UFC, he has fought to high level competition, way better than what Paddy Pittman has fought. But when you look at Paddy Pippen's side, I like the fact that they kind of built it up. They didn't rush the kid. They didn't just feed him to the fire. And Michael Chandler came from another organization. He was Bellator's. He was a champion. And when he comes to the UFC, obviously he has he hasn't already gained a name. But same that can be said about Paddy Pimpin. Maybe not to a high regard as of Bellator, but he was coming in here with the fan base, with the fan base from the UK as is. And that being said, I mean, like the way the UFC built this kid up, I believe it was almost as if like it was meant to be. Like, not what I mean by that is almost as if they didn't really feed him anybody that was too big for the moment, right? Jordan Levitt, Josh Gordon, Tony Ferguson on the decline, and then he gets a King Green. All right, those are his last 4 fights. He comes into the UFC debuting against Luigi, a notable fighter, but not in anybody's, not a household name. You know what I'm saying? Still up and coming himself. So what I mean by that is the way they fed him, they really did a good job on taking care of the kid. And I honestly think the UFC is now about to claim what they, not what they deserve, but they can claim the fruits of their labor. They did a good job on Paddy Pimpin promoted himself. The UFC matchmaking did a good job of not giving him higher level of competition that he wasn't ready for. And now I think he is ready for Michael Chandler, a 38-year-old Michael Chandler, a Michael Chandler that's going to go there and going to go in there and going to entertain. And I think that is going to be a bad matchup style for for Michael Chandler. I think Paddy Pimpin is going to move out of the way. He's not going to be there. He's going to be way more fast than Michael Chandler. And if Michael Chandler does take the fight to the ground, I honestly think that as much as we respect Michael Chandler's ground game, I honestly think that Paddy Pimpin at this point in his career has the better ground game. So I'm going to put my money on Paddy Pimpin. I'm going to take the younger generation, and I can see Michael Chandler retiring after this fight. I don't know if he has what it takes to rebound after this. Obviously, you're 38, and but you know what I'm saying. Maybe a fight with Conor will probably be the fight that brings him back off of a loss. But what happens if Conor sees Paddy beat Michael Chandler and Conor wants to come back and fight Paddy? You know what I'm saying? But that being said, I honestly think Paddy Pimpin believes that he's a couple fights away from a title shot. And I honestly, truly believe that Michael Chandler, in this point in his career, is a suitable performer. And they're going to put on a show, but I'm going to take the Brit here, guys. I have to take Paddy Pimpin. I think he's ready. I think he worked up to this level. I think he's ready for the next level of competition. And it all starts with Michael Chandler. After this, he breaks into the top 10, and then we're off to the races. This is a guy that is 6-0 in the UFC, and he passed every single test that they gave him. So who am I to think that he's not going to pass a Michael Chandler? Aged Michael Chandler, I would say a declining Michael Chandler, and I would say maybe if this was Michael Chandler as 31 years old, yeah, you take Michael Chandler every day of the week. But this is a 38 Michael Chandler that I don't see him beating a Paddy Pimblett on the wires, a Paddy Pimblett entering his prime, a Paddy Pimblett that's ready to fucking rock and roll. Just turned fucking 30 in January, ready to fucking hit it off. And ready to. He's in his prime. Paddy Pimblett is entering his prime right now, and he's about to serve Michael Chandler on a platter. So that being said, give me Paddy Pimblett. Patty the body. Patty the body. I'm not just picking him because I like his damn song. I'm picking him because honestly, a little bit, just a little bit. It reminds me of Connor. Just a little bit. Reminds me of Connor and Connor's wives. Remember when Connor, before he got that championship? Not as big, but a little bit. Just a little bit. But speaking of which, another guy that's been on a damn wires. Talk about new Gord versus old Gord. We got, we shouldn't even pronounce him as Coach. We got Coach Diego Lopez versus Alexander Volkanovski. Go right ahead, Raphael. Lead us off in this one.
All right, because right now, for that fight of Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez, I mean, this is going to be like a great fight. Because, for the record, I understand that Alexander Volkanovski, he was a former player of rugby. And to be honest, right now, it seems that coming off of the fight after a year, a bit of hiatus, as well as deserved break to take monsters after monsters and both the lightweight and the featherweight division, that also be like a little concern. But I do think that Volk, as long as he's wrestling, is very high, very active right now. I mean, there's gonna be so much interesting. But I mean, it's gonna be like a highly active on the ground. He probably coming away for the win. I mean, the probably concern that he was somebody to knock out twice, and he's coming off of someone that is not afraid to use her hands and does have a nice boxing. Anyway, I'm very conscious on Volkanovski because simply the physiological hesitancy of being knocked out has been really knocked out twice because he thought somebody should knock it off it again. So I really think that it's gonna be really interesting. But for Lopez, I mean, something about like the dude just came out of the nowhere as a Alexa Grasso grappling coach. Now he's fighting for the belt. I mean, the division is going to be like an equality competition, or they're really pushing Lopez. I mean, he's very exceptionally well-rounded. I mean, he has the boxing fundamentals and not to stanley toe by toe against Volkanovski, but it just got to keep Volk at a guessing and perhaps even threaten with power. Alter the run with power against Volk without entirely setting off an attack or just asking for like a retaliation or cutting down for a takedown. But I believe that momentum has the powerful thing on that sport because right there on this because there's something I had to try to figure it out. But I know that the back end offer like the Aussie, which is Alexander Volkanovski. And I know that's coming like after a year and one activity, coming off of a tough KO loss. It's going to be the back end of them because they're going to prove me wrong, but I would love to see to like win the belt again. But they're going to make something that Lopez has the right tools to deal with Volkanovski. I will live with that. I mean, I hate to say that, but I think it's going to be like another time to shine to leave a new champion. So it's going to be the unanimous decision. Give Diego Lopez for the new belt because I'm sorry, Alexander Volkanovski, because I know that it counts for a year in activity, but I think it's the perfect opportunity to see Diego Lopez shine with the new belt.
Yeah, this is really the old Gord versus the new Gord. Every couple of years, I would say not even couple, more than a couple. I would say every 4 to 6 years, we come into a change of the Gord. And when you look at Alexander and you look at the lighter divisions, it's really rare that a champion over the age of 35, would lose his championship, the bout, and then improve and then get better and then come back and win it back. That has never happened in the history of the UFC in the divisions under light heavyweight. Light heavyweight. If you really think about it, you got I'm trying to think, and I can't really. Maybe like Muhammad, he won his back. But that being said, I mean, like when you look at the featherweight division, it's going to be really hard. We've seen Max try to come and take his belt back, and he got denied. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard for for a fighter of that age that Volk is. Volk is 36, and I've been watching this embedded, and he seems to be really good with his life. He seems to have got his head in the right place, and I don't doubt his mental ability, and I don't doubt his IQ. I just doubt Father Time. You may want to do something, but then your body just doesn't react like it used to. He may want to throw a punch, but I just think that it's not going to be as fast as he thinks it's going to be. Yes, he could come back and he could blow us all away. He even said it in embedded. Everybody's counting me out. And I hate that he said as we should, because what's up NFL reality check? Not like we should count him out, but you could see the decline in his game, and that's not just because he got knocked out. But Volk 6 years ago would match Ilya's speed. Volk didn't match Ilya's speed. You know what I'm saying? Volk 7 years ago would match Islam's speed. Yeah, he was controlling until he wasn't in both fights. And now he's going to enter to a fight with a young prospect on the rise, just entered his prime, that's going to control the pace in the first second of that fight. Volk's not going to have the ability to set the tone because Diego's going to set the tone of the fight. Volk had the opportunity to set the tone against Ilya until Ilya said, no, that's it, my turn. Guess what? Diego's going to say, no, that's it, my turn in the first fucking 5 seconds of that fight, all right? Diego Lopez is going to blitz him. He's going to come with the hands, and he's going to hurt him. And Volk's going to shoot for the takedown just out of instinct. And Diego Lopez is going to submit his ass by rear naked choke in round 2 or round 3. Somehow it's going to happen. I got Diego Lopez by rear naked choke. The only reason why I say that is we all used to the hands, but this guy's father was a black belt. His sister's a black belt. He's a damn black belt. His uncle is a Koro belt, and he was a champion's wrestling jiu-jitsu coach. Sorry, not wrestling. Excuse me, BJJ's coach, and helped her win a championship. I think he has the best wrestling in the division. Sorry, the best BJJ in the division, hands down. And I can't wait for him to win this fight. And then I can't wait for Morzor to come up, finally get his championship fight, and we can get the rematch, okay? Because he stopped Diego when Diego first entered into the UFC, and Morzor is on an 18-fight win streak, and he deserves a chance back at the title. Do I want Alex to win? Absolutely. I'm a fan of Alex. I would love to see Alex win and Alex get back that championship belt because he keeps the division active, and it's always fun seeing him fight. But honestly, I don't know if he still has it against a young, hungry, creative, and really powerful Diego Lopez and skillful Diego Lopez that literally doesn't care who he's fighting. He was supposed to fight Brian Ortega at UFC 303. They had to change it to Dan Ige last notice. He said, I don't care, I'll fight anybody. Just someone show up. I just want to fight. Goes in there and absolutely does good against Brian Ortega at the UFC, at the Sphere, UFC 306. And I just think that, maybe a Volk 4 or 5 years ago. Now I'm gonna pick Volk every day of the week, but this is a
That's right.
this is a 36-year-old Volk, and I see the passing of the gourd here in both fights. And honestly, I can see Volk retiring as well. If he loses, I hate saying that, but I can see him laying down the gloves if he loses because he wants this fight. He wants to be able to hang with the young bloods. But honestly, man, I don't think if he loses, he gets knocked out by the world champion. Then he gets knocked out by Ilya, another world champion. But then he gets knocked out by Diego Lopez. What does those three have in common? That's all young bloods. You know what I'm saying? Islam is not really that young, but he's still young. You know what I'm saying? Islam's not 36. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, I am gonna go with Alexander Volkanovski is gonna get submitted by Diego Lopez somewhere in that fight. It might be the championship rounds. Who knows? But that being said, give me Diego Lopez by submission.
Oh, that's gonna be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that Volkanovski, he's been really knocked out for twice, but he doesn't want to show it like a knockout again. So I really think there's gonna be like more defensive with his actions on the feet. But I agree because let the young generation of take over. Because I really understand that Alexander Volkanovski he became champion just like one, twice, but he can put it together some combinations. But perhaps it's gonna be like I don't think it's gonna be primary way to this win. It'll be like a to the win, hopefully the wrestling to the like the cleanest way to win, or at least more likely. But I know that he can quite currently get at this high chin, a leg at head movement, and with his throwing bowling at his opponent. I mean, they line very accurate rate, but that's something they have to figure it out right now. So I really think that there's gonna be something really interesting passing the torch to a new generation, because I really understand that when some fighters get knocked out and they just strip it out of the title, that means that, well, if they gotta help it to rise up and to say, hey, there's gonna be like a new champion. But I think that Diego Lopez cleared that path. It is gonna be so much interesting. But it's gonna be like a great day, but they have a lot of confidence. But mostly it's gonna be like his distance management. Most of the time they're keeping themselves outside for their opponent range. Sometimes in a distance they allow kicks, which usually is very important on that game.
Absolutely. I mean, like if someone asks me like who's the best featherweight of all time, I mean, like I'm gonna have to say Volkanovski. I mean, like people may look at me like I'm crazy, be like, "What? You're not gonna say Ilya?" No, I'm not gonna say Ilya because Ilya
No.
wasn't around that long. You know what I'm saying? And Ilya is a light heavyweight. He just moved up. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, yeah, he's 16-0, and yeah, he knocked Alexander out. But that doesn't make him the best featherweight because you knocked Alexander out. And this is not me hating because he beat Max Holloway. Yes, I would. I would argue that in the future at another time. But when you really look at it, Alexander, when it goes down in history, he's gonna go down as in history as either a number one. At number two, we'll see where Ilya ends up. Now, if Ilya ends up like fucking 28-0, he goes in there, he beats Islam, and he fucking absolutely demolishes that weight class. Okay, then okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, you're the best to ever do it. But at the end of the day, when you really look at it right now, if someone was to ask me right now, who's the best featherweight to ever do it? I'm gonna say Alexander Volkanovski. Like, how do you don't?
Mhm.
How can't you say Alexander Volkanovski, right? So it's almost as if like, is that guy gonna show up, right? Is the greatest featherweight that ever did it? You know, and I wish they would announce that in the UFC. I wish Bruce Buffer would be like one of the greatest to ever do it at featherweight. Or give some kind of. I get it that they do the like, the former featherweight champion, but I wish they would have do something, give him more respect, because he is really one of the greatest to ever do it at that weight class. And I hate picking Diego Lopez here because I really want Volkanovski to show up, and because it's fun, dude. It's fun when Volkanovski's winning. It is
Exactly.
really fun because we get him every fucking 3 months. Every 4 months we get a fucking Volkanovski fight. It's so fun when he's winning. But Rafael, my co-host, has laid it down, and he has a good point, and I follow that point, and I agree with that point.
Yeah,
It's time to pass
exactly.
the gourd. It's time to pass the gourd, and the gourd probably will get passed to Diego Lopez on Saturday night. But anything else you want to say, my friend, before we wrap this shit up? Because this has been fun.
Yeah, this is gonna be like a really fun, because I think it is time to wrap it in off because, well, to be honest, right now in this month of April, because they had the NBA playoffs,
Ooh, I
also they
can't wait.
got a little bit of baseball, but also they got the entire amount of UFC fights, including WrestleMania and NFL drafts. So they're gonna be so much packed with this schedule right now. So I just wanted to tell you, thank you guys for joining us at this episode number 39. Previewing the UFC 314 in Miami is gonna be on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you very much. Thank you, Ray Love,
I
to
mean,
join
let
us.
me say a couple of words before we end it too. I do want to
Yes.
say you guys can probably catch us on Leather to the Face tomorrow night. If you guys are watching the fights, if you guys want to come chill with the Leather to the Face crew, we got me, myself, we got Raphael's gonna probably be there. He show up. Hopefully, we got Reels, we got G Nation gonna be on G Nation's channel and Reels channel. So make sure you guys go to G Nation Talking Sports. We'll be there tomorrow 7 p.m. and then 10 Eastern. And that being said, I just want to say, guys, I really appreciate you guys all being here. I know I may not make it all on the fight night episodes and stuff. So thank you, Raphael, for always holding it down on those episodes. I really appreciate you for that, my friend. But you can really, really, like he said, there's a lot of fights coming up. There's a lot of great things coming up. I was gonna ask Raphael to be a host on a Premium Takes here soon. because we're bringing that back, and I know that's going to be fire at the whole WrestleMania, and maybe he can, maybe we can do something where you after WrestleMania you can come and you can review it with see how the recap with Mac and Adam. But I just want to say thank you, man, and you guys can expect me for all the main chords, like the big fights. I'll for sure be Combat Club. I'm gonna try to make the fight nights. I'm gonna try to do recap shows. But my schedule, I have to be honest with you, fam, my schedule has been kind of hectic. But I am working on getting that fixed. And once I get that fixed, you guys will see me more. And that being said, I just want to thank you, Raphael, for always holding it down, the Combat Club. Man, day one, mofo, and I really appreciate you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And yeah, back over to you to end it out, man. Thank you so much for letting me say
Yeah,
that.
thank you very much. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Capitán Rafucho, also my co-host Science Zenith, and get ready, folks, because tomorrow is gonna be a great banger. So thank you very much. So this is the episode number 39 of the Combat Club. So in this club, we were born to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. So don't be a ninja and fight like a man.
Yeah,
So
Ninja.
yep. Let's go for it. And of course, have a great weekend. Have a great night. Have a great Friday. And of course, happy Easter. And for those guys who are watching at home, here it is, the spring break. So salute to y'all. And we'll see you there at the next episode and the Combat Club. So let's get it.